We are going to discuss William Collins and his famous poem Ode to Evening in this lecture. William Collins was born in 1721 and he died in 1759, and he had a brief life, as you can see. We will look into the historical and literary context briefly, then examine his life again briefly, then read the poem Ode to Evening, paying attention to the structure, and then we will give a very interesting reading from Terry Eagleton. William Collins lived in the period where we have kings like King George II from 1727 to 1760, that actually covers the period of William Collins. During this period we have the conflict between Hanoverians supporting King George and his family, and the other one supporting Jacobites from the earlier period, Restoration period, James II and his dynasty. We also have a famous poem from this period, The Seasons by James Thomson, and the rise of the graveyard school of poets. The most popular poem of this period is of course Gray's Elegy. This graveyard school of poetry gave inspiration for a new kind of poetry, much like what we have in 20th century, the Dead Poets Society, a film which is interesting to watch. Now let us pay attention to William Collins. He is often considered a transitional or post-Augustan or pre-romantic poet, depending on the persuasion that one has. He is formally a neoclassical poet, but thematically a romantic poet. He describes individual emotional experiences in his poems. He started writing poems at the age of 11 and published 3 volumes in his brief lifetime. He fortunately had the opportunity of mingling with well known poets of the times like James Thomson, Thomas Gray, and the great literary figure Dr. Johnson. For some strange reason he turned melancholic and died early. He is known for poems like Ode to Fear, Ode to Mercy, Ode to Liberty, and of course Ode to Evening, which we are going to discuss now. What is an ode? It is a song. So we have some brief ideas about ode here. Ode is a lyric poem in the form of an address to somebody or something. It is a long lyrical poem of Greek and Latin origins. We have 2 kinds of odes, one is called Pindaric odes, other is called Horatian odes. The first one actually was used to praise people and also used in certain occasions, but the second one was more calm and meditative, that is personal. Ben Jonson introduced the Pindaric ode into English. Abraham Cowley introduced the irregular ode into English. As you know, Wordsworth's famous ode on immortality is an irregular ode. In our case, Collins' poem is a Pindaric ode to the evening time. Now let us get into this Ode to Evening, published in 1748. It is an unusually unrhymed ode with great musical qualities. It was influenced by Milton's translation of a Horatian ode through the Wharton brothers. There is a critical study by Havens how Collins was able to get this idea of writing this poem through the Wharton brothers. This poem influenced the romantic poets like Wordsworth, Coleridge and Keats and many others of course. This is considered to be a most enduring poem of the 18th century. It was first published in odes on several descriptive and allegoric subjects. It was revised for publication in Robert Dudley's collection of poems by several hands in 1748. It is considered to be a favorite piece of poets and novelists too. This poem has a specific structure like this. There are of course 52 unrhymed unequal lines, that is irregular lines. We have 13 stanzas, each stanza has 4 lines. Each stanza also has 2 long lines and 2 short lines. That is where this irregularity comes in. One critic called H.W. Garrett identified 3 divisions in the poem. Though everyone may not agree with it, it is useful for us to read the poem and understand it. First 20 lines are considered invocation to evening. Lines from 1 to 20, they all belong to one sentence. And similarly, the second one, 21 to 40, it talks about nature in general, and the last lines 41 to 52 are considered to be total abstraction. Some may not agree with it, but this is what Garrett has to say about William Collins' poem Ode to Evening. Let us read the poem now. There are some archaic words, they are not difficult to understand once we know that they are words which we have to pay some more attention. If aught of wotton stop or pastoral song may hope chaste eve to soothe thy modest ear, like thy own solemn springs, thy springs and dying gales, O nymph reserved while now the bright haired sun sits in yon western tent whose cloudy skirts with bread ethereal love overhang his wavy bed. Now air is hushed save where the weak-eyed bat with short shrill shriek flits by own leathern wing, or where the beetle winds his small but sullen horn. As oft he rises midst the twilight path against the pilgrim borne in heedless hum. Now teach me, maid composed, to breathe some softened strain, whose number stealing through the darkening veil may not unseemly with its stillness suit. As musing slow I'll hail thy genial loud return. For when thy folding star arising shows his palely circlet at his warning lamp, the fragrant hours and yells who slept in flowers the day, and many a nymph who wreathes her brows with sedge and sheds a freshening dew, and lovelier still the pensive pleasure sweet, prepare thy shadowy car. Then lead calm votress where some sheety lake cheers the lone heath, or some time hallowed pile or upland fallows grey reflect its last cool gleam. But when chill blustering winds or driving rain forbid my willing feet, be mine thy heart that from the mountain side views wilds and swelling floods. And hamlets brown and dim discovered spies, and hears their simple bell, and marks over all the dewy fingers draw the gradual dusky veil, while spring shall pour his showers as oft he wont, and bathe thy breathing tresses meekest eve, while summer loves to sport beneath thy lingering light, while sallow autumn fills thy lap with leaves, or winter yelling through the troublous air affrights thy shrinking train and rudely rends thy robes. So long sure found beneath the sylvan shade shall fancy friendship's signs rose-lipped held the gentlest influence own, and him thy favourite name. It is a hymn to evening, it is an ode in praise of the evening time, the twilight time. The poet describes whole evening in his own words using certain poetic devices and rhythmic structure. When we pay attention to the thematic contrast, we can understand how the poem begins and progresses and ends. Of course, it is a poem to the evening, but it contrasts it with morning. It talks about spring and also about autumn. It refers to western and also eastern sides. Similarly, we have a pilgrim with a focus, with a purpose. But at the background, we can also think about the traveler who may not have any purpose. There is an element of concord harmony in the evening. At the same time, some amount of discord is also indicated. It deals with the end of the day, beginning of the night, so we have this contrast between day and night. The poem contrasts between pleasures sweet and chill blustering winds. Nothing is purely day, purely night, purely evening. There is some mixture of everything. The poet describes all together. This is a poem addressed to evening. So we have this apostrophe. The evening is not described Just as a natural event, it is personified as a woman, a chaste woman, a chaste woman, a beautiful woman, a desirable woman. And also there is an allegory of this passing of time from day to evening, from one day to next day, one season to another season, that is from spring to autumn or from autumn to winter. We have the personification of all seasons, spring, summer, autumn and winter, moving from one season to another. We have some metaphor here and there, and we have one example. This metaphor refers to cloudy skirts. Also we have this metonymy, the whole evening, just one part of a day is representing the whole nature. When this is the case, then one part, one small element of this evening, twilight, represents whole of nature, that is metonymically it happens. We have a very interesting case of polysyndeton here, and Hamlet's brown and dim discord spires, and hears their simple bell and makes over all. So whatever is happening around this village or in the rural area, in this natural environment, we have all of them coming together, and they all come together so quickly, they create some harmony. We said this poem has lots of musical qualities, and the musical qualities can be found here through the analysis of sounds with reference to some examples. Some softened strain, this is a poem, Wotan song, that is a musical instrument used to sing, to play the music. Some softened strain poem or song, strain, song, line, poetry, rudely rends thy robes, alliteration we have in these two examples. We have assonance in the first line, very first line, if aught of Wotan stop or pastoral song, ought, Wotan. We also have stop, song, the vowels are repeated, adding to the musical quality. We have beautiful onomatopoeia in line number 9 to 10. Now air is hushed, say where the weak-eyed bat with short still streak flits by on leathern wing. Short still streak flits, it is a case of alliteration, and also it attempts to imitate the bat movement. We have anaphora in 3 lines beginning with while. If you go back to the slide, you can see in line number 41, 43 and 45. We also have syncope, dropping off, that is omitting of certain syllables, certain letters, pastoral, darkening, that is of course done for the sake of maintaining the metrical pattern, that is foot. We also have more details about this rhyme, rhythm and meter. The whole poem is unrhymed, but it is not blank verse. Blank verse means iambic pentameter must be there. This poem does not have that. So we have lots of variation, number of lines, number of feet varies from line to line. We have internal rhyme also in this, that is where the musical qualities are much more. Breathing traces meekest eve, evening, that is meek, that is breathing. Musically the evening time, and also some critics have noted that this eve could be the eve of book of Genesis. We also have this enjambment, that is run on lines and caesura. As off he rises midst the twilight path against the pilgrim born in heedless hum. Now teach me, there we have this caesura, now teach me maid composed, again we have this pause, but this comes at the end of the line. So what comes in the middle of the line, we call it caesura. Now teach me maid composed to breathe some softened strain. We have this 2 meters actually, one is pentameter, another is trimeter, penta 5 feet and tri 3 feet. The major metrical pattern, rhythmic pattern in this poem is iambic of course. On the whole we can say that this is a poem, this is an ode to evening, it is a personal, descriptive and meditative poem on the evening of a day. The poem universalizes, that is allegorizes a specific evening to the evening of everyday life. We have the major theme of beauty being evanescent or life being short lived. The poet or the speaker, one who we see in the poem, is the pilgrim. The poet or the pilgrim observes the vagaries of time with a detached outlook, though attracted to the beauties and dangers of life. In fact, many critics have found that the poet is willing to get into the natural scenario, but then he detaches himself, he goes away from the scene of action. As long as we live, let us sing the beauty of evening and the biblical eve too. It appears that the poet is saying this kind of idea in this poem. Terry Eagleton has a very interesting reading of this poem. He says, Collins uses an elaborately formal diction and solemnly elevated tone. The language is elevated, of course, and one of the features of this poem is it uses archaic words. He was enamored of ornate poetic figures. So, Terry Eagleton observes that the hut is, there is one hut to which he goes. Eagleton says, the hut is humble, but the poetic language is noble, elevated, grand. The poet differentiates himself from the landscape he describes using elaborate conventional terms like bright haired, wavy bed, sylvan bed. The critic deduces that the poem is not about the human subject, nor even about the natural object, but about the medium of language. That is where we can say that this is a kind of deconstructive reading. Eagleton, it is self-referential, it is a text about the process of writing a poem, especially the invocation to the muse for the poet to write his poem about the evening, about the twilight of our life. Probably Collins was too much aware of his own twilight. To summarize, we have looked into the historical and literary context of William Collins, which enabled Collins to write a poem like this, Ode to Evening. This is a poem considered to be a pre-romantic poem, an inspiration for poets like Wordsworth, Coleridge, Keats, but it took inspiration from Milton. That is where we can see the poetic tradition from Chaucer, Spenser, Milton to Wordsworth through Collins. Eagleton's deconstructive reading of the poem indicates that this is a poem about poetry writing using language. So, he gives a reading in which he says this is not about the poet, this is not about the evening, but about language itself. We have many references, you can read whatever you are able to get hold of, but one thing you can understand is when you collect a list of references like this, you will find some critics are more interested in certain poets than certain others, like for example this Young. You can see even in 21st century people are interested in Collins. As long as people live, as long as people are interested in their life, as long as we think about life, language, death, loss, I think we will continue to read poetry. Thank you.